Trump's going to regret having filed that lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal, opening the Pandoras box wide open, subjecting himself to discovery and deposition, sworn statements under oath where he always does terrible. And now we've got the newest information. Basically, something that I said was going to happen during Legal AF podcast on Saturday has happened. The judge assigned to the case of Trump versus Murdoch in the Wall Street Journal, Trump versus sanity, is Judge Daryn Gayles. I know Judge Gayles very well from when he was on the Florida Miami-Dade Circuit Court. It's a phenomenal judge. And you may recall that he was the judge that presided over the case that Donald Trump filed against Michael Cohen for defamation and breach of contract. Same lawyer for Donald Trump, Alejandro Brito. Same judge, Judge Gayles. I'm going to tell you why this matters on this MeidasTouch Legal AF hot take on Michael Popok. Let's get into it. I'm using my Florida legal experience, 35 years practicing down here in Florida. Let's talk about what just happened. As we said on Legal AF, the podcast, one of the dumbest strategic moves I've ever seen Donald Trump make was to file this particular lawsuit and take on this particular media empire in an effort to try to distract and change the narrative of his cover-up of the pedophile predatory conduct of his wingman and one of his best friends, Jeffrey Epstein. If he thought that was going to work because the Wall Street Journal ran an article on the front page about Donald Trump hand-making a birthday card that was glued into a scrapbook back in 2003. It included in a 50th birthday party, Epstein birthday party gift. If he thought that by filing the lawsuit, claiming that it wasn't his birthday card, this was going to change the narrative, forget it. The headline is that Murdoch finally is severing his ties with Donald Trump and gave permission for that expose to be published on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, which also gave license one after another, seriatim, for the other corporate media outlets like the New York Times to start publishing their own pieces. New York Times is doing a hit a day against Donald Trump once Wall Street Journal broke the glass ceiling and gave permission. Permission structures operate in every location, including in the media. And once they did that, the New York Times said, we're going to run our stories about all the people and all the data points that connect Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein and make it almost impossible to believe that he did not know that Jeffrey Epstein, his wingman and best friend, was also preying on and raping girls. And so we have article after article after article, all since Donald Trump filed that lawsuit. Now, I also said, using my experience, my superpower experience of being a trial lawyer, and being a trial lawyer who's practiced for years down in this Southern District of Florida, that I found it odd that Donald Trump did not file this case up in a more friendlier venue, a more friendlier division of the Southern District of Florida, which would have been the West Palm Beach division, where he would have had a 50-50 shot of pulling Aileen Cannon. Why didn't he do that? You've heard me, and if not, I'll tell you straight. I think it's because he did not want Cannon for this case in case he has to elevate her to Attorney General or worse, to the United States Supreme Court. So they filed in Miami, 70 miles south of Mar-a-Lago, not near where he lives. He has a lawyer that he likes a lot, Alejandro Brito, who works in Coral Gables, Florida, in Miami. And he filed this case. He filed the case against Cohen. He filed the case against ABC and filed the case against Paramount CBS. So he's his go-to for this kind of defamation type lawsuit. And the last time we got this gang together of Trump, Alejandro Brito, his lawyer, and a judge named Judge Gayles, things did not go well for Donald Trump. So they filed in Miami. There's 18 or 20 judges that he could have pulled. He pulled randomly, Judge Daryn Gayles. And I actually joked about it with Ben Meiselas on our Legal AF podcast on Saturday. He could get Gails. It's 1 in 17 chance, 1 in 16 chance, but he could get him. And he got him. What does it mean? Let me tell you first about my personal information that I have from knowing Judge Gayles. From years that he was on the Miami-Dade Circuit Court, my firm, full disclosure, supported his candidacy, helped him when he had a challenger a couple of times in terms of raising money for him, held a fundraiser for him. I spent a considerable amount of time with Judge Gayles, and I like him a lot. He is, I don't know if he's the first openly gay judge on the Southern District of Florida bench, but he's openly gay. But I think he might be the first. African-American, appointed by Obama, supremely qualified, super smart, and he doesn't take the bait. He's got a perfect judicial temperament. He's quiet, thoughtful, but don't F with him, or any federal judge for that matter, in the Southern District of Florida. And using the Trump-Cohen case as the blueprint, I think it's going to go very similarly. As soon as the lawyers for Michael Cohen, who include, full disclosure, a firm that I'm affiliated with, the Danya Perry firm, as soon as they started setting the depositions early for Donald Trump in the case, that case eventually got dismissed by Donald Trump voluntarily. They called his bluff and they set his deposition, because that's what Donald Trump has exposed himself to. And, it's not a one-way street in a lawsuit, especially when you're the plaintiff. You carry the burden of proving your case. You carry the burden of trying to get your complaint to survive a motion to dismiss, which is obviously coming from the Wall Street Journal. Because what they published about the handmade birthday card pasted into a scrapbook, and they saw the scrapbook, they talked apparently based on the reporting to the FBI and the Department of Justice officials that were involved with gaining this information, gaining this evidence, who used it or were going to use it in some way to prosecute Epstein and or Ghislaine Maxwell, who got prosecuted for being a co-conspirator in sex trafficking of girls and sentenced to 20 years. Now, she's begging for a pardon from Donald Trump, hoping that he wants to make the whole crisis and the whole conspiracy go away. So they published the article about this X-rated handmade card with a doodle of a woman, a naked woman, where the pubic hair is the jagged Sharpie signature of Donald Trump. And he said, it's not my card. I don't know why that is the issue, why that is his problem to file the lawsuit. I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of pages and hours and videos and photos and evidence and testimony and interviews that link Donald Trump directly to Epstein, including Donald Trump's own interviews in magazines. You know that feeling after your morning coffee, that crash, the jitters, the bloating? Yeah, I was getting all that every single day. But coffee was part of my routine and I wasn't ready to give it up. Then I found Everyday Dose and it completely changed the game. This isn't a coffee alternative, it's coffee with benefits. I'm talking 100% Arabica coffee combined with functional mushrooms like lion's mane and chaga, plus collagen, protein, and nootropics. It fuels your brain, it supports your skin, hair, and joints, and gives you clean, sustained energy all day long with no crash, no jitters. I switched between Coffee Plus, their mellow, low-acid, light roast that's easy on my stomach, and Coffee Plus Bold, a full-bodied medium roast that gives me a little extra boost when I need it. And here's the best part. Get 45% off your first subscription order of 30 servings of Coffee Plus or Bold Plus. You'll also receive a starter kit with over $100 in free gifts, including a rechargeable frother and a, get this, gunmetal serving spoon by going to everydaydose.com/legalaf or entering legalaf at checkout. You'll also get free gifts throughout the year. That's everydaydose.com/legalaf for 45% off your first order. Try it. Your mornings will thank you. I mean, MeidasTouch is running almost on an hourly basis in social media and on its website and on its YouTube channel, information about people who connect the dots between Donald Trump and Epstein and Epstein's depraved activity, including now Ivanka. Yeah. And all of these people that were ignored or the pieces were not put together by anybody but Julie K. Brown of the Miami Herald, who brought down Epstein with her dogged reporting. Nobody else is covered it the way that we did. So the birthday card is the thing that sets Donald Trump off to go after Rupert Murdoch. And Rupert Murdoch and the Murdoch family don't respond to anybody. They're not owned by outside investors, right? I mean, there are outside investors, but they have the controlling stock in the company. They make all the decisions. So what's going to happen? Judge Gayles, now that there's a complaint, there needs to be a response to the complaint filed within probably around 30 days. I'm sure it's going to be a motion to dismiss, arguing that this is not defamatory on behalf of the Dow Jones company that owns the Wall Street Journal, owned by the Murdoch family. It's not defamatory. It's true. Donald Trump can't allege actual malice, which is a requirement for a public figure in defamation, which means knowledge of truth or falsity about this card, or reckless disregard for whether it's true or false. And then there's other privileges that may not be appropriate for motions to dismiss, but will be raised in short order in the case. And Gayles will hold, or his magistrate judge, Judge Goodman, who has been assigned to the case, will hold a preliminary, usually the magistrate judge holds a preliminary hearing about discovery, depositions. When are people going to be sitting down in a room with a court reporter? When are people going to be under oath? When are documents going to be exchanged? When is information going to be required to be provided by way of written answers to questions we call interrogatories? Usually the magistrate judge who sits under the federal judge, reports to the federal judge, handles that kind of mundane day-to-day experience. In my experience in federal court, sometimes I don't talk to or get to see or have communication with the actual federal judge assigned to a case for a year or two, while the magistrate judge handles everything. If I don't like what the magistrate judge does, I can appeal it to the trial court judge, in this case, Judge Gayles. Gayles may take a more active role here. He doesn't have to use his magistrate. The first conference may well be Gayles, the lawyers for Rupert Murdoch who have yet to appear, and Donald Trump's lawyer, Alexander Brito, to talk about the case and to hear some preliminary comments and observations by Judge Gayles. But Brito knows Gayles well, the lawyer for Donald Trump, because he already lost in front of him, if you will, in the Cohen case. As soon as they called his bluff after he sued Michael Cohen for hundreds of millions of dollars and set him for deposition, Donald Trump dismissed the case. We'll have to see what's going to happen here, but certainly Donald Trump has waived his immunity issues. He can't, if they countersue him, which they're allowed to do, once he's been sued, Donald Trump can't use immunity as a sword and a shield. He can't say, oh, I can sue you, but you can't sue me. Doesn't work that way. He's effectively waived his immunity defenses or any argument of presidential immunity or this immunity or that immunity. When they start asking him, well, who did you talk to about this card? Oh, I can't tell you, executive privilege. That's not going to work. We're going to have to work our way and grind our way through that with Judge Gayles. But Judge Gayles is super smart. He's seen this kind of case before. I can't think of a better judge to be assigned than Judge Gayles randomly to this case. It matters. For those, I think for those who have been students of MeidasTouch and Legal AF for the last 5 years, you know that the judges matter. They're all supposed to be independent, nonpartisan arbiters of the law and applying the facts to the law and just being, independent umpires. But we know that where they come from and who appointed them and their backgrounds influence their jurisprudential approach. Now, Donald Trump already has his ready foil, right? He's got a black gay judge appointed by Obama. We can write the social media posts now, can't we? And ignore them. Okay. Leftist, Marxist, this is, that is. Although he didn't do a heavy amount of attacking against him during the Cohen days. But we'll have to see what happens here. I'm going to get Michael Cohen to join me on Legal AF to talk about his experience in front of Judge Gayles, and that'll better inform my reporting here on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch Network. So look for that interview on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Thanks for being here on the MeidasTouch Network. As you can see, now more than ever, we need you to protect us from Donald Trump, and we'll protect you the same way. Corporate media is lopping off heads to try to satisfy Donald Trump left and right, Stephen Colbert, maybe Jon Stewart next, maybe Jimmy Kimmel next, and then we start getting to the on-air reporters. We've already seen it happen. There's a reason Katie Fang is now part of the MeidasTouch Network and a sister channel to my Legal AF. And so we need your support. It's easy. It's free. Hit the subscribe button on MeidasTouch. Come over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button there. No paywall. Right? No censorship here. Completely independent thought, independent reporting, independent commentary, all for you. We appreciate you. Until my next Legal AF report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.